Assalamu alaikum student. This is Dr. Samina Qasim, your Research Methods and Skill course facilitator. Today, I'm going to give you a lecture on population and sampling. Agenda includes target population, how to identify target population, population sampling, sampling plan, the sampling design process. Target population. Entire set of units relevant to the problem or phenomena being studied is what we call target population. Target population is actually the collection of elements or objects that possess the information sought by the researcher and about which inferences are to be made. How to identify target populations? Target populations may be concentrated or scattered. Every unit of a target population must have at least one similar characteristic. Target populations with a high number of similar characteristics are called homogeneous, while those with greater number of dissimilar attributes are called or considered as diverse or heterogeneous. Population sampling. Population sampling is the process of taking a subset of subjects that is representative of the entire population. The sample must have sufficient size to justify statistical analysis. Sampling is done usually because it is impossible to test every single individual in the population. Therefore, it also saves time, money, and effort while conducting the research. Still, every researcher must keep in mind that the ideal scenario is to test all the individuals to obtain reliable, valid, and accurate result. If testing all individuals is impossible, that is the only time we rely on sampling techniques. Performing population sampling must be conducted correctly since errors can lead to inaccurate and misleading data. Sampling plan. What is sample? A portion of population that represent population characteristic is called as sample. They are the subset of population that should represent the entire population. They have similar characteristics of population. Sampling. Sampling is a process of separating the representative part from the population. Sampling unit. Who is to be surveyed? Who are your respondents? Sampling method. How should the respondent be chosen? Sampling error. This is the degree of error to be expected for a given sample design or the difference between sample mean and the population mean. So sampling error is the difference between sampling mean and population mean. Sampling bias. This refers to the idea that those selected are not typical or representative of the larger population. Means the sample that you have collected is not giving or reflecting the true picture of the population. Margin of error, it refers to the precision needed by the researcher. A margin of error of 5% means that actual finding could vary by as much as 5 points either positively or negative. That means confidence level. Confidence level is a statement of how often you could expect to find similar results if the survey were to be repeated, or the degree of certainty of obtaining the same result. You must have heard 95% confidence level. What is that? It means 95% of your data have similar result. If the survey is repeated, the degree of certainty of obtaining the results will be same, right? And for margin of error, if it's 95%, uh, your data is, it means 95% of the data is error free, only 5% chances of error, that we what we call 5% chances of margin of error, right? Sample design, this refers to a set of rules or procedure that specify how a sample is to be selected. This can either be probability sampling or non-probability sampling. Sample size, this relates to how people to pick for study. How many people should be surveyed? The question is often asked, how big is a sample necessary for a good survey? According to the law of large numbers, the larger the sample size, the better the estimates, or larger the sample, the closer the true value of population approached. Now, there are some really important qualitative factors that is required in determining the sample size. The importance of decision, the nature of the research or the problem, the number of variables used in the study, the research hypotheses or questions, level of precision or reliability requirements, population homogeneity, how much population is homogeneous, sampling techniques used, that plays a very important role in determining the sample size, monetary and personal resources, amount of time available. If you have very short period of time, so it is not possible for you to collect very big sample size. Population size, diversity of population, all these things should be considered before determining the sample size. Now, the sample design process is you first define the population. Who is your population? Then you determine the sample frame, the design. After doing that, you select the sampling technique. Then you determine the sample size, and then in the last, you execute the sampling process. So this is the roadmap of sampling design process. Clear?